Hey guys, and welcome back to Secret Leaders. We're back in the swing of things now. So we've got a lovely leaders chat set up for today. Chris, what are we going to be chatting about?
Today, Dan and I are going to be talking about how we are going to live forever.
That's right. We are giving that sort of like Brian Johnson vibes, but a sort of Brian Johnson for fatties, I think is a good...
Yeah, and I feel, we're very different in this. I would just like to do a few less of the things that are killing me. I think you're healthier than me these days.
I think I'm healthier than you, but I have no interest in cutting out the things that I want to do in life. So the vibe is like get a baseline of how healthy we are.
Yeah, which we both did.
Yep. And we'll go through that and try and extend our lives a little bit.
Yeah.
And certainly not turn into some like cult-like Jesus figure because that doesn't look like too much fun.
Although, and I know like the team will be like, move on and say what's coming up in the episode. I also bought Brian Johnson's new like space dust. He like calls out AG1 and all that. I bought his product. I think it's called Blueprint. Is that right?
Yeah.
It arrived yesterday. I tried it yesterday. Quite nice.
Yeah. What else are we going to talk about today? Anyway, we can come on to that. We can come on to space dust. We're going to address the state of LinkedIn. So as the mayor of LinkedIn, and I guess what does that make me? That makes me like the janitor. So as mayor and janitor, we'll be discussing the mayor of LinkedIn. I'll just clean up the shit after you.
And we're also going to be talking about how some companies have got creative with their employee motivation.
Ah, yes, employees of the week. Love it. Before we do all of that, hopefully you've seen our latest episode with Scott Davies, the founder of Hilltop Honey. He is the queen bee of the UK. He sells 25% of all the honey in the UK. He's building a company that's, surpassing 50 million, coming up to 100 million in the very near future, owns 100% of it. He's building a dynasty of runny, yummy honey. So, you like that?
Yeah.
It really tickled you. It really tickled you. Yeah. Okay, great.
I mean, I think the episode is awesome. It's like a real business episode. Like it's bizarre in that you can make, frankly, so many people have businesses and so many like founders who are public have businesses. He is literally killing it making honey. It is wild. Like
his secret ingredient, other than obviously bees and beekeepers and all that stuff, but his secret ingredient is just timing. It's just spending the time and just being persistent enough.
Being in the game long enough.
Yeah.
13, he was quite literally a beekeeper though.
Yeah.
Because he was interested in bees.
Yeah, because he got an injury at 21 and laid flat on his... So this is the other thing. He had an injury. He couldn't do what he was doing, which was being a bricklayer. Yeah. And someone gave him a book on beekeeping and he happened to read it. And I think it's one of the things why I love books so much, because a book can change your life. An idea can change your life. A book can change your life. That guy at 21 who was going to be a bricklayer, that was his path. That injury and that person that gave him that book changed his entire course forever. And now he's an incredible, successful entrepreneur.
So the takeaway for everyone watching is give your friends books about bees.
Yes. And also go get workplace injuries to change your life.
Yeah. So tune in. It's packed with information like that.
A whopping 93% of you don't subscribe, and we'd love you to. It takes 2 seconds. Give us some love. Thank you. All right, Chris. So tell us, why did you buy Brian Johnson's Magic Dust or whatever it's called?
You were giving me so much shit about AG1.
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, right, I've got to get rid of my AG1, which actually I quite liked. So I got rid of it and I was like, I can't take tablets. I could, as you know, I struggle with tablets because I'm a baby.
Yeah.
And so I like powder in the morning, so I then suddenly saw that he had this thing come out and I was like, Jesus, this guy is like the guy and he's made this like super accessible product. I'm gonna give it a go. And so I ordered it. It was alarmingly expensive, I think.
Really?
Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was post and packing. I have no idea.
That must be mostly post and packing.
It was very expensive though.
Oh, that's fascinating. I thought the whole thing with Magic Dust is his marketing campaign that was sort of like the AG1 killer was, as I've been saying for ages, but no one believes me because I don't look like Jesus. AG1 is nonsense. What's in it is average, and there's no evidence, like there's no information about how much they're giving you on any of these ingredients at all. It's like a proprietary blend, meaning they don't tell you how much you're getting of anything.
Yeah.
So it's all just like marketing spiel. But obviously no one listens to me, and I understand why, because I would sound biased. So, as in, I have an agenda, or I have a different supplement, etc. Yeah. So I get it, it's not credible. Brian Johnson came out and said exactly the same things, but because he's a genius, he went one step further, which is, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to reverse engineer their entire product, and I am going to make it for 1/10 of the price because that's how much these ingredients cost. And I'm going to sell it for 1/10 of the price. And I'm going to give you, basically his whole marketing spiel was, buying this kind of product is a waste of your time. Don't do it. It barely works. There's not much evidence. It's pointless. But seeing as so many of you are going to do it anyway and want to have supplements in this form, I'll do it. And I will make it exactly the same as AG1, identical, and I'll sell it for 1/10 of the price. That was his whole marketing spiel. So it must be because you're importing from America to the UK, and it's not like it's not cost efficient.
It tastes very nice. I read the ingredients. It feels like everything that I would like to take in the morning.
Yeah.
And I literally just get to chug it before work. So kind of perfect for me.
So does it cost you the same as AG1 buying it here?
I'd have to look it up. I mean, I just felt like it was expensive.
Oh, that's really
But that
interesting.
probably is because I ordered it once or something. But
Or we're getting AG1 for free.
I was getting AG1 for free for
So
a while,
anything more than free is expensive.
Yeah. But no, so very good. I'm going to try that now and try and take that every morning.
I actually had his team reach out to me yesterday about Heights doing some partnership thing with his Don't Know community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's random. I haven't responded yet, and it's not really. I love Brian Johnson. I actually think he's awesome. He's been a guest on the show as well, and I really love his shtick, and I love what he's doing, and I think the whole thing is awesome. That's just not us. As in, he is up here, and when I'm trying to understand who Heights customers are versus his customers, he is the absolute optimizers. We want to live forever. We want to cut out all this other stuff in our life. We're perfect. I think that's amazing, and people should be doing that, and they should be following him. But we're a step down. We're Brian Johnson for normies, Blueprint for normies, people who don't quite have that level of discipline.
Yeah.
Sahil Bloom, who we saw last night, he'd be perfect for that. He's got that level of discipline.
I mean, he genuinely is.
Right. Yeah, I don't have that level of discipline.
Before we went on stage, I was sipping down a beer.
Yeah.
And I was like, someone get me another beer before I go on stage. He was headphones in, kind of like an Eminem vibe in the corner, crouched in the corner, bouncing his head up and down. I was there swigging a beer.
Yeah, interesting.
And as we went on stage, he was like, are you taking that on stage? I was like, yeah, of course. And he was like, right. I was like, oop.
I did notice.
Yeah.
The first thing I noticed, I said I was with our friend Rachel. I was like, oh, look at that. Beer, water. Very good.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I know exactly where Chris is sitting.
Very on brand.
Yeah.
But no, okay, I mean, Sahil is, very, very disciplined individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need that.
Which is impressive.
Yeah.
But also, there's something in being people like us, I think, where we're more disciplined than your average, right? Because, we do good things and we work hard and we're ambitious, but, not going to kill ourselves for it. No. Managing international money used to drive me crazy until I found Wise Business, the account for doing business in other currencies. I can hold money in different currencies and only convert when the rates are good. No more rushing to exchange at bad rates or losing money on outrageous fees. And my team handles all the payments themselves. I don't have to micromanage anything. They have their own logins, set their own limits, and I just keep an eye on things from my phone. One simple account lets you pay and get paid in over 40 currencies. There's no hidden fees, no marked up exchange rates, and it connects right to your accounting software. Whether you're paying vendors or suppliers in Europe or you're getting paid from Australia, it's all just easy. And that's what I love about Wise. It just takes this complicated thing and it makes it really simple. Your money's always secure with 24/7 protection, and you can see exactly where everything is in real time. To learn more about how you can use Wise Business to save time, money, and stress, visit wise.com/business. So you are taking other stuff as well. So obviously you got Brian Johnson's Blueprint stuff.
Yeah.
What else are you doing? You did your
So at the moment,
scan.
right now, I am actually taking Heights, creatine, and Brian's new product.
Right.
Every single morning.
Yeah.
And I find Heights obviously challenging because I don't like big pills because I'm a baby. But I like the fact that scientifically the delivery of the product through the capsule.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very hard to get away from that. Other than that, I did actually just do a full body medical examination with the Mayo Clinic, not an ad. And
Mayo of LinkedIn. Couldn't resist, I'm sorry.
So I went to the Mayo Clinic in London, had a full body scan. I did one 5 years ago as well. So after I sold Verb, I was like, okay, I have a bit of money. I have really abused myself for 10 years. I would like to get tested. And that test was really good. And then 5 years later, I was like, I'd like to get the same test. And so they were like, what would you like to test? And I was like, everything. I want to test everything.
How much is everything? Because I reckon I probably accidentally spent more getting things separately. I'm just genuinely curious.
I mean, it was a lot because I was having like MRIs on old injuries, and like proper scans.
Yeah, okay. MRI
But
is
I
going to
probably spent like over 10 grand.
Okay, yeah, but MRI would skew that enormously.
Yeah, and MRI is like 1,000
at least.
Yeah,
it's more probably, but yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I had every single thing tested. I had like every test done. I had like my genetics done. I had my likelihood of being allergic to medication as I get older, like what risks I might have in the future, because I've got a really ill dad who's got lots of challenges, and so we were trying to see if I had proclivities to that stuff. Came back all good. So
that's great.
Very happy and healthy.
Interesting.
The advice was always, can you please drink less?
Yeah.
Can you smoke less? But I mean, that has been the advice in every doctor appointment ever. And so, yeah,
Do you know what?
I'm working on it.
I did all the scans and stuff. So I went to HCA. I did a full body checkup thing. It's called a reassure. So I had posture, height, weight, body mass index. I did my DEXA as well recently. So DEXA scan for bone density and fat mass, which is a much more accurate version of getting your BMI.
Yeah.
And that was actually really cool. The DEXA was really, really cool.
Big machine, isn't it?
Big machine. You lie there, sort of like you're getting an MRI sort of thing. And like a few other measurements, like all in that room. And it's sort of 15 minutes, and you get an incredibly accurate picture. And what's really cool is because I'm like trying to get bigger. So I've gone from 73 kilograms last January to 88 this February or whatever. So like it's a big increase. And obviously what happens with that is you are going to put on fat and all the stuff. Yeah, that's bulking a lot, right? And my target though is like I want to get to 90 kilograms and 15% body fat, which is about a 1.5 2 year plan.
God, we really have the opposite.
You're looking to just put on body fat.
I'm like, can we have less fat? Can we lose weight?
I'm just inspired by Jay. I want to get to that.
Yeah. Jay's not on camera right now.
Yeah, Jay's more 15.5 body percent.
Like physical
90% body fat.
90.
He's 90% biceps. That's what he is.
Yes, so that's what I want to get to. What are you, about 100 kilograms?
105.
Yeah, 105. Yeah.
Nice.
His arms are like 15 of that.
Yeah, but it's a 105. He looks lean.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm going to have to do what I can with my genes. I'm not going to get to that, but I feel like 90 and 50.
That is
but what's really cool with like saying I want to get to that is that you can then use your scan to map out what you'd actually need to do. So how many calories, so specifically for me, how many calories I would need to eat on a daily basis on average over a period of time. So if I want to do it in a 1.5 years, it's basically 2,900 calories a day if I want to get there in 1.5 years. So it's a lot, but that's about 180 grams of protein, which is exceptionally hard on a daily basis. That's very hard to get. So, you might have to extend the period to be 2 years and make it a bit more practical, but you can essentially map out what your intended journey is.
How much protein is that?
A lot. Well, I'll put it this way. A piece of salmon is 20, a piece of chicken is 30.
And you have to eat
180
a day?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, the point being, that was really fascinating. I also got blood test done for vitamins because obviously heights. So
how did you do?
Well, I mean, that would just be.
Would you tell us?
Wouldn't it be awful?
Yeah.
I've got all my results, so I'm like actually going to publish them all on social and stuff, just because I think it is interesting. Anyway, and this is specifically the protocol that I do.
You are like Brian Johnson for normies.
For normies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's good that and this is like everything was in normal levels. So there you go. It's the most normie thing. Yeah, just optimal normie. Although look, the DEXA did tell me that I'm a little bit fat, I'm a little bit weak, and my bones are a little bit brittle.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a little bit. As in, I'm just under on all of them, except on body fat.
You don't come across as fat.
Yeah, but body fat's 23.7%. So their optimal range is, like a little lower. Anyway, so very proudly for Valentine's Day, I explained to my wife that, a little fat, a little weak. Lucky you. Yeah, fragile bones.
How do you feel about this, babe?
Yeah, exactly. Real catch here. Yeah. Oh, there is one funny thing that got flagged up. To your point of like less smoking and, do you drink? So immediately after the thing, they were like, how much do you drink a week? And I was like, I don't really drink at all. No. Like once every couple of weeks. Like, oh, all right, well, we're going to book you in with a hepatologist for your liver then. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I got something that's like raised. And I went to see the hepatologist yesterday, so I had some blood tests and stuff. so funny. Like so like liver doctor is like, right, lie down on the bed and lie there and stuff. And he's like, right, I'm going to start like just checking. I'm like, right, here come the needles or the machine or whatever. Literally puts like 3 fingers on me. He's like, right, we're done. You're fine.
Good liver.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Was that the whole test?
That's what I paid for. Could have done that myself.
Yeah, I'm glad that went on insurance because Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I think I'm fine, but it was just quite interesting. Raised something.
I thought for a crazy moment there, you were gonna go, and they said drink more.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah, you might as well drink more if you're going to have these kind of results.
Yeah.
Basically, the sum of it. Okay, so mayor of LinkedIn, janitor of LinkedIn, discussing the state of LinkedIn. All right, well, the town's a little messy this week.
Yeah. What are we looking at?
Okay, let me read you a couple of posts that we found, and you can roast them or rate them. Okay?
Or both.
Last week, my econ professor asked me, Jack, would you rather take $10 million now or receive $10,000 per week for the next 50 years? Without batting an eyelid, I said, neither. I'd rather pay you $10,000 a week. Shocked, he replied, that's insane. No economic model would suggest this. Insane, I replied. Not at all. If you give me money, I lose my drive. I go soft. I might as well roll over and die. If I give you money, it makes me hungry. I have to grind to make more. I have to hustle. The only thing insane is that more people don't think like me. Hashtag lions don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep.
I mean, it's another one of those where I'm like,
Satire.
is it a meme account? It has to be a meme account because people, don't talk like that. Although people do.
Some people do, mate.
Yeah. You've got your little coaster there. People do that thing where they're like, would you like 10 million now or 10,000? And it's about how hard we work and so forth.
What's your answer to that question?
Obviously, I'd just take the money and run.
Yeah, 10 million now.
10 million right now.
Yeah, stick it in an index tracker and just not bother with anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of like wanky, slightly educated views. 10 mil index tracker, paying some divvies.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
700 grand a year to just chill on.
Take
Why
it.
not?
And 10 grand a week is what? 520? Yeah. I mean, we just math that shit.
Post-tax, that's at least 10 grand in your bank account.
Yeah,
So.
there we go.
All right,
Dummy.
Matt Latham, he says, 1% of the way through 2023. If you're not getting up at 4 a.m. meditating, affirming, hydrating, journaling, reflecting, stretching, exercising, parenting, showering, emailing, and eating breakfast all before 6 a.m., then you may as well stay in bed and wait for 2024. God, he's right. Did Brian Johnson write that?
Again, though, that has to feel like a piss take.
I know, but just genuinely, Brian Johnson would say that.
Security compliance is one of those things that can silently derail your business. Not because it's impossible, but because most of us put it off until it becomes urgent. And by then, it's often too late. I want to tell you about Vanta because it fundamentally changed how our company handles compliance. They've built a system that automates preparing for SOC 2 and ISO 27001 certification, turning what used to be months of tedious work into a straightforward process. What makes Vanta different is that they understand this isn't just about checking boxes. It's about building trust with your customers while protecting your business. That's why over 8,000 companies, from two-person startups to major enterprises, rely on their platform. If you're growing your business and you know security compliance is something you need to address, visit vanta.com/secret leaders. They're offering $1,000 off your first year, and honestly, it's worth every penny just for the peace of mind. It's the solution you wish you'd found years ago. Use Vanta so you don't get slowed down by security paperwork and focus on what matters, growing your business. Visit vanta.com/secret leaders now and get $1,000 off your first year.
I'm finding it more and more difficult to the trend of content in general, which is like the amount of morning routines that I see now, especially, and this is the thing, especially with founders where like the morning routine seems to be taking them like 2 hours. Whereas like, if I'm really honest, in my early days of entrepreneurship, and now again, because I'm busy again, annoyingly, like you just have to work quite a lot. And so like, I feel crushing 2 hours of fucking...
Do you know what was interesting? There was like Richard Harpin, who told us about his morning routine. Like he'd always got up at like 4:30 and got that cab straight to the gym and then worked there for a couple of hours and cab straight into the office and did that for like 20, 30 years. That was actually quite inspiring. So an old guy and, like successful and all this stuff, but it was actually inspiring to see someone disciplined like that throughout their life that built a multi-billion-dollar business. That's the flip side. That was cool.
I mean, he is a machine, that man. But again, like he's not doing that for views. He's not doing that for like, people to, thirst over his morning routine. Like he's doing that because for him, that's probably when he is bothered the least.
Yeah.
You know, get up early, go to the gym, work there, get to work and do the work.
Yeah.
But I mean, I bet he's the sort of guy that also goes to bed at about 7.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it checks out. But yeah, I feel like people are so obsessed with like the perfect morning routine and like doing all of these things. Whereas actually sometimes the advice might just be get up and get into the thing that's the hardest thing for the day.
Next up, my daughter walked away from this car crash last week with only bruises on her leg.
She was piss take.
She was being driven to work by a colleague who didn't know the roads and was driving too fast. It's a miracle she's alive. And it got me thinking about businesses I see daily who are heading for a car crash in 2025, barely surviving, no systems, and no guide with experience leading them to a better place. We all need a guide or a coach. They see what we can't see and make sure we drive our business in the right direction. I've been growing businesses for almost 25 years. If you need help or a friendly chat, reach out, and let's make sure you don't have a car crash this year. That started off thinking that was a piss take, and I finished that
actually
not
think that's
thinking it
real.
is. Yeah, that sounds real.
See, that's the worst. That is the worst type of post because the other two are clearly piss takes. Whereas that actually might be.
That sounds real.
I mean, it's so ridiculous, but it might be real. You do see a lot of like.
That's peak LinkedIn.
That would go on LinkedIn lunatics. But you do see a lot of people do that, like take really, really dramatic personal thing and try and relate it to business. And they get slammed these days, thankfully, because that's a crap post.
Shocking.
Yeah.
All right. That's one for the janitor to clean up. I'll tidy that up for you, Mayor. So scrolling through the internet last week, as I do, well, I say internet, mostly Twitter, but
You are Twitter obsessed.
Obsessed. Yeah, I might actually delete it off my phone because
think
it's
you
just
should.
too bad. Me too. Anyway, best employee rewards I was finding. I stumbled across Domino's Pizza, who give free Rolex watches. So they used to give Rolex watches to top performing franchise owners and executives as a reward for hitting milestones.
I mean,
Pretty sick.
that is pretty sick. I don't know enough about watches. Like, are Rolexes super expensive even at the bottom end?
Yeah, I think so. And I also don't know, but I think they are, and they hold value and they go up in value. So it's like an investment you're giving someone.
Fine. So someone just shouted at us that the bottom end Rolexes are going to be like 10K and they grow over time. So actually a brilliant investment. So that actually is one hell of a fucking perk. But I suppose franchise owners are like business owners. That's a pretty intense job.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
It's cool. So I went down the thread and I was found some other ones. So Lego. In the 1970s and 80s, Lego rewarded employees with 14K or 18K solid gold Lego bricks as recognition for their service in the company.
Jesus.
That is
How,
nuts.
yeah, how many people, 14K or 18K?
Solid gold Lego would be bloody heavy as well.
I wonder how many people were getting that. I mean, it doesn't sound like they've done that for a while.
Yeah, not since the 1980s.
The gold price
realised
has
it
gone
wasn't
crazy.
profitable or sensible.
Yeah.
But
then companies did actually used to have way better benefits, really. Like golden pensions. Like when my grandpa was like 20 years after leaving Chrysler, he was still getting a pension from Chrysler. Like,
that's wild, isn't it?
it's just crazy. That shit just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Less interesting, but cool. Airbnb, $2,000 travel credit. So employees receive an annual $2,000 stipend to stay at Airbnb listings anywhere in the world. I guess what's cool about that is all employees. It's not like just the best one. It's just like across the board. So that is pretty cool.
And that's an easy perk for them to give. Feels aligned. Probably doesn't cost them.
They've probably got thousands of employees. That's loads of good PR.
Yeah, probably doesn't cost them too much. Probably not allowed in the most busy houses either.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite one ever. Have you ever read Tony Hsieh's book?
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah.
I know this one.
What's it called? Selling happiness or something? The happiness? No.
Yeah.
The infinity.
This is where he gives people money to leave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Pay to quit.
Pay to quit.
Yeah, so new employees who decide that the company isn't the right fit within the first few weeks are offered $2,000 to just quit.
That's pretty good. If you're on the edge of leaving, you're like, this place isn't for me. They're like, here's $2,000. You could have like a month off. You're like, yeah,
So cool.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Feels a bit like a PR exercise. I wonder if there was like just some HR loophole where they were like, probably we have to do that anyway legally. And so.
I'm doing this new thing at the moment,
Yeah.
which I haven't been doing for very long. But in my new company, if anyone leaves, I've been giving people a leaving bonus. And it's because what I hated about my past in some ways is that if someone left the company, even with the best intentions in the world, it's always a bit of a sticky one. You know, it doesn't feel amazing. And so now I'm like, if I just lead with an unbelievable gesture of like positivity, then even if they do have bad negative feelings, they're like, okay, they really wanted this to end well. And reputationally, I think that the best staff come from recommendations of existing staff.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I feel like it's working.
That is a good idea. Also sounds like one of those reputational damage control things. You're like, oh,
Yeah, well, to an extent,
It
I
is,
suppose
right?
it is.
Yeah.
You know, but
it's proactive.
yeah, it's
And actually,
proactive.
the point that it's proactive and it's across the board means it isn't selective to, or there probably was a bit of a difficult time
Exactly.
with that one. It's like, hey, everyone got the same.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's like
smart.
not one. It's not one employee. It's all the employees.
Yeah, that's really
and
smart.
it's like a quarter. Well, it's like a third of someone's salary.
Yeah.
On top of like any notice or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
Actually reminds me of Scott Galloway on this podcast. He said that whenever he gets...
Pre my time.
Pre your time, just pre your time, actually.
Oh.
He said just anytime he gets 4 employees that want to go out and do anything together, they can just take his card and do whatever they want. And one time they all booked like a trip to Hawaii or something. And he was like, well, okay, fair enough. I mean, the policy is the policy.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow.
But cool.
Yeah.
And his whole point is...
I wonder how much they spend.
But his point is like it makes people love his company and want to work there more than anywhere else because they know that that's such a unique perk they're not going to get anywhere else. That the best people, like he can still let go of whoever he wants, but the best people are going to want to stay because like what a random great perk, and he's not telling them how to spend it. They just have some common sense of how much the money's making and what is reasonable to spend. And even if it's Hawaii, it's like his point on that was, but they don't know that that is within the realms of good reason because of how well they performed that year. Cool, huh?
Very cool.
Yeah, so you should do that. Anyway.
So this is a new segment where people are sending in their questions, predominantly so that Dan can give them some advice on life and business. And so I thought I would ask you one of the audience's questions. So I've been bootstrapping my startup for 18 months and I'm burnt out as fuck. That's what AF means. My co-founder wants to bring in investors, but I'm worried about losing control. What do you think, Dan? Take your time.
Quite tricky, isn't it? Because taking in investors when you're burnt out as fuck is not a great idea at all.
No.
And at the same time, they need investors because they need to, you know, fundamentally give themselves some space and time to, you know, live and be able to get back to normal. Without knowing all the ins and outs of it, I would just stick with my first instinct, which is like reading that made me massively uncomfortable, and it doesn't sound like a good time to bring in investors at all. Also, with all things, investment, business planning, like any expansion for growth, you kind of want to be putting your best foot forward. And that sounds like your lowest moment. So it sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, and I would say avoid.
Yeah. I'd say take a holiday. And if you can't, then you don't have a business.
Fair. All right, Chris, how do you handle family who think you're crazy for starting a business? My parents keep sending me job listings for real jobs.
I mean, I genuinely don't think I'm the best place to answer this, just because, like, at a young age, my dad was an entrepreneur. At a young age, my dad got us all to do goal setting and New Year's Eve resolutions together. And my dad was the genesis of my brothers and I becoming entrepreneurs. And so my parents were, you know, conscious that they wanted us to go to university, but were fundamentally the driving force for why we believed it was okay to become entrepreneurs. And so, unfortunately, I can't really... I mean, what I can say is that when I started my businesses, my friends thought I was fucking insane and like called me out and were rude about me behind my back and all the rest of it. And I think to some degree, like, you have to race your own race. And like, I in the early days, I was like, I don't want what everyone else wants. Like, I want something slightly different. And so I'm going to have to pursue that against the grain.
Yeah, I think in recent years, there's not a huge amount of evidence that having a real job or being an entrepreneur is more or less risky than each other. They both carry their own risks, and you should row your own race, and you should do the thing that's right for you. And if you can't handle the idea that other people don't agree with your view of the world and think you're weird, if you can't handle that, you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur anyway.
Yeah, that's the answer. Basically, the summary of being an entrepreneur is kind of walking a slightly different path.
Yeah, and everyone's going to tell you all the things you don't
Everyone
agree
thinks
with.
you're rubbish at it until you're successful, and then they will be like, "Oh, they got lucky." And then it's not until you have like a compounded amount of a lot of successes over a variety of different things that people start to be like, "Oh, yeah, he's quite good at that."
So true. All right, help. Just discovered a competitor launched almost the exact same product as us, but they have 10 times our funding. Do we pivot, compete, or cry? Well, cry. You can definitely cry about that.
I would say, like, is that not like an unbelievable sign that what you're doing at this point in time is resulting in, that sort of funding. Like I would say, like if my competitor got funded, I'd be like, okay, this is good because like probably I'm in a market where it's not like one company, you know, it's probably not two companies, probably multiple companies. And so we are all going to build the category or the product together, and them having so much funding means they will spend so much money on things without thinking about the pennies, which means a lot of the time they'll spend really ineffectively. And so in many ways you can learn from them, but you could use it as a case yourself to raise money. And so I personally would be like, that's really interesting that people think that this is fundable to that degree. And so you've opened up your funding doors, but also unbelievable to learn what your competitors are doing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Been running my business for 3 years and still haven't paid myself a proper salary. When does this ramen profitable phase actually end?
Ramen is in there's that phrase, isn't it? The early stage of startups, ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Is that what ramen means? Yeah. I suppose so. Yeah. So I would say this is a pretty brutal view. Okay, this is a pretty brutal view, but I've been running my business for 3 years and I still haven't paid myself a proper salary. I would say there is something wrong with the business. I would say that the product that you have, the service you have, the way you're running your team, there is something fundamentally wrong. Maybe
the way you're selling the value of your product.
Yeah, maybe the product itself doesn't have the margin. Maybe you're not asking your customers for enough money. Like I spent a long time in the agency service space, which is basically like you have 99% of agencies that don't charge enough for their time and don't protect their time enough. And so they never make a margin. So at the end of the year, they might make 2 million quid, but they're actually spending 2 million quid. And so they've done this, heroic year, and they've seen barely any growth and no profit. Yeah. And so I'd say that you've really got to think about where the profit comes from in the business and how you can replicate that activity more. And that's a wrap. Thank you very much for watching. If you have more questions, please do send them in. Quite enjoyed that little segment there. Could have done that for longer. Next week, we have the incredible Danny Buck from Crafted, who has built an enormous business and has like very strong views on effectively being in the game long enough, working incredibly hard, like not over glorifying entrepreneurship. And so I can't wait to talk to him about building what is now a very big business with so many different avenues now, which is going to be really exciting. Crafted is now one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing men's jewelry brand like in the world.
Yeah.
He's going to give us a masterclass on e-commerce, on D2C brands. So if you're in the space of building a business, if you're building online, it's going to be a fascinating episode on like how you draw traffic to a product, how you monetize that, and how you do that at scale. It's not easy. Like e-com, direct to consumer, not an easy space.
Okay, so don't forget to, please, if you've enjoyed this, hit subscribe. 7% of you do, but that means 93% of you that watch this don't. So do us a favor.
That's mathin'.
That's mathin'. Please make us feel good about our lives and our energy and hit subscribe.
See ya.